What's going on, everyone? Back with another video. So here I have something from Jasmine Lane, who recently interviewed the American-Canadian ambassador, talking about the anti-American narrative in Canada, as well as the elbows up ridiculous strategy, where one party said elbows up, and the other party said me too, as well as the Greens, not just the NDPs. We're kind of all agreeing with the Liberal Party on this for some silly reason. Now, before we get into this, please don't forget to like and subscribe, as it really does help grow the channel, and I appreciate you guys doing that for me so much. So let's get into this, and then we'll talk about it.
But it was something fascinating that I had come to mind when it came to the election that transpired, some of the rhetoric and narratives that led to certain parties really getting a lot of attention over others, and for myself at the very least, it just didn't feel incredibly diplomatic. And that really does lead me into my next line of questioning. Do you believe, or is it showing at least, that the Liberal Party of Canada, as well as the mainstream media, are they accomplishing anything when it comes to the whole elbows up anti-American sentiment, or is that perhaps making things worse or risking things becoming worse?
Well, obviously that's the campaign strategy that both parties embraced during the campaign. One was elbows up, and the other strategy was me too, and that's the strategy that is basically continued to.
He actually might be referring to the Conservative Party there, saying that, I don't know, they never said elbows up, but I don't know, he made it sound like both. Well, he says both. Usually they talk about Conservatives and Liberals, so I'm not sure if he means the Conservatives as well, or if he's talking about the NDP.
Date, and that's a decision for the Canadian government to make as to whether that strategy is working or not. That's not. I don't advise the Canadian government on strategy. As a sovereign nation, you decide how to negotiate and how to work with the U.S., how to work with Donald Trump and his team.
So it's very interesting, right? So, and again, maybe I was wrong at the beginning. He might have been referring to the Conservatives. They weren't saying elbows up, but they were repeating some of the same narrative, which did upset some Conservative voters, where Pierre's talking. He's still talking about, the retaliatory tariffs, and we need to, keep going at them and fight back. And it did sound a lot similar to a lot of people, and it didn't really excite a lot of people. Now, that being said, in Pierre's case, what was he supposed to do? Just say, oh yeah, we won't respond and we'll get a deal done, but we won't respond. That would have resonated horribly, and there's a decent chance that more swing voters would have went to the left. And that could have been disastrous. It's tough to say right now. It's easy to to play a Monday morning GM, but the thing is that you have to wonder if this strategy needs to change or not. And does Pierre Poilievre need to come out and kind of lead the way, and say, hey guys, I know you love copying me, so why don't you copy this? Let's forget the tariffs. Let's forget retaliating against them. And let's just come up with a strategy to get a deal done as quickly as possible. Now, even if that does hurt Pierre Poilievre's strategy, it's going to be a while before an election comes around anyway. It's very likely we won't be dealing with this, even though Trump is likely to be in office still before we have our next election, or as we have our next election, because I don't think it's going to be in 4 years. But that being said, it's still not likely to be an issue the whole time going forward. And I do think that it's very interesting that you're seeing some Conservatives like Scott Moe say that, hey, we need to just focus on getting on a deal. And I wonder if the federal Conservatives are going to follow suit and do the same thing. Or do they continue with the, hey, let's halfway agree with the Liberals here and not say elbows up, but push back with the same kind of retaliatory tariff strategy. I'm not sure if they're going to switch gears on that, and I'm not really sure if that'll hurt or help them. We'll have to see if he does that, and then what Abacus says when they do their polling afterwards. But it's very interesting to see the kind of landscape right now. What do the Conservatives do? Do they continue with the, hey, let's get retaliatory tariffs, which is pissing off some people? Or do they kind of go and say, hey, look, let's reframe this. We need a deal done. That's the end of it. So let's do whatever we need to do to get a deal done. Mark Carney, feel free to copy that. and do what you need to do to get the deal done so we can just move past this. But the problem with that for Mark Carney is, as he's admitted online, he's only good in a crisis. He even went and said, if there was peace, I would have to, and then he just kind of stopped himself. And you have to wonder, what were you going to say, Mark? If there was times of peace, I would have to, you create crisis, or if there is a crisis like they're saying there is now, do you just keep it going for as long as possible, because then he gets to thrive and what he feels is where he's best? Well, the problem is, if there's a crisis for too long, Canadians will start to turn on him, because we're all going to get tired of this pretty soon. Tariff this, tariff that. People are getting sick of it already. It's going to hurt both countries. Let's stop it. Let's make a deal. And there will be calls on that to happen. And then when that does happen, if Mark Carney gets absolutely screwed and gets a bad deal for Canada, well, you're going to see people turn on him really quickly. But I'm really curious to hear what you guys have to say about that. Do you think that Pierre needs to pivot here? She dropped this, he did it again today on Twitter where he said, hey, let's not cower down. Let's put up a fight here. Or do you think he needs to kind of say, hey, you know what? Forget the retaliatory tariffs. The Liberals will make fun of him for it. They'll say, oh, see, we told you you'd give up the country to America. But that's only Liberals, people who would never vote for him anyway. I don't know if swing voters would turn on him for that. I don't see him losing a lot of support if he came out and said, hey, listen, this strategy isn't working. Tariff for tariff retaliation has gotten us nowhere. Let's forget about that and do everything we can. Let's pour every single resource into getting a deal done, and that's the only thing we should be focusing on. So it's very interesting. Sorry about that. It's very interesting to see what's going to happen in the near future, especially as we get closer to 2026 with all the the interest rates and everything happening and the honeymoon phase being over. We're going to see where Mark Carney's support really falls. Again, I don't know if it's going to drop that quickly. I think it's going to take a year or two, but who knows? We could see an election, this time next year, or maybe even a little bit before that, or maybe a little bit after. It's very interesting what's going to happen in the next couple of years. It's also very interesting when Pierre Poilievre gets back into the House of Commons, which would be on September 15th, as long as he wins his by-election, which he surely will. Which, by the way, Battle River Crowfoot, Monday, August 18th, so we're not too far away. But either way, let me know what you guys think in the comment section. I always enjoy engaging with you guys, reading your comments and your thoughts. Please also don't forget to like and subscribe once again, and share the heck out of this video. Share it to your nieces, your nephews, your neighbors, your kids, everyone. We need to get this word out. We need to really make people understand that this is not a Justin Trudeau problem. This is not just a Mark Carney problem. This is a Liberal Party of Canada problem. They are infiltrated by the elites, by the WEF, and they follow their agenda, and that agenda is anti-average Canadian. We need to get the word out, so do your best to spread this. I'm going to do my best, and we'll see what happens. Thanks for watching, and I'll be back shortly with a new one.